Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sportcat Daily Gazette. If you are joining me from our previous broadcast, we were live. Ross and I were both live. That's why I'm a little late coming over here, guys and gals, so I hope any of you didn't leave me. We were over on Yerg's Radio and Talk TV 24, and of course, Radio X. Me and Ross were in the air babbling. So, but we got carried away. So, all right. Well, I hope everybody's having a great day, and I hope you are ready because we got a lot of ground to cover today, and I hope we can make it because, well, there's so much going on in the world today. You'd think I would have figured this out by now. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Hey there, Brenda. Welcome. You're gonna love me and hate me. Hello, Chris. I'll get you on the screen in just a second. I'm pushing a button here. Share. Here we go. All right. So a lot of you are anxiously awaiting. Let's get this out of the way. Brenda, hello, Brenda from Beyond the Box. You can go over to her YouTube channel. She has a show. And Chris, welcome. We are glad you're here as always. All right, so let's get into this a little bit. I'm just going to skip on some of these news titles, and because I was just saying over on Ross's channel, on Yerg's channel, that everybody's talking about Trump Day, Liberation Day. Well, it's going to be, as this headline says it, precisely. And just the news, I need to cite the source. And the opinions I give are not just mine, but what I'm reading for YouTube, because I know they like that. Today is Liberty Day, according to Trump, and he's announcing tariff plans in the Rose Garden. And here's the word I like: spectacle. Okay, because this is the way I think Trump thinks. I think he wants fireworks and gold glitter and cheerleaders dancing behind him whenever he does something big. Now, that is just my opinion, but that's my feelings. So he set to announce his decision of implementation on an array of new tariffs on Wednesday, as some of the tariffs he's already announced are taking effect. He's dubbed Wednesday, which is today, April 2nd. It's not April Fool's Day, as Liberation Day. He should have done this yesterday. We'd had so much fun with it. And is planning an event at the White House Rose Garden to unveil his decision on broader tariffs. He announced the tariffs on Mexico and Canada early in the administration, but he agreed to postpone following negotiations with the leader of those countries, meaning Canada and Mexico. Each tariff adds a 25% on goods from the respective country, while tariffs were part of border security negotiations. Trump is expected to unveil broader tariffs to achieve his stated goal of rebalancing America's global trade. Now, what I hope he could do, exactly, I should not state my opinion. What I'm hoping he does is I'm hoping he shows that if we're charging XYZ, we're also being charged XYZ, so that we can show how we're trying to equal things out. So they say, we applaud the Trump administration for stepping up to end the free trade disaster that has devastated working class communities for decades. Now, this is the UAW auto worker leader who was for it before he was against it, before he was for it. I don't know. He spoke at the DNC. I don't know where this guy stands. He's all over the place. Of course, it's a union, so we know they're backed by the DNC. So anyhow, now they're saying he thinks it's great. All right, so there's going to be some policies and pledges during the press conference today. White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt declined to offer a preview of the exact decision. Hello, Denise. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. We missed you. It's simple. If you make your products in America, you will pay no tariffs. We have already seen a number of the largest companies from the world respond to this approach. For example, Project Stargate, I don't know if I like the name of that, led by Japan-based SoftBank and US-based OpenAI and Oracle, announced a $500 billion with a B private investment in the United States artificial intelligence infrastructure. Artificial intelligence worries me. Apple announced a $500 billion investment in U.S. manufacturing and training. NVIDIA, who, if you don't know, they pretty much put everything in your computer, announced it will invest hundreds of billions of dollars over the next 4 years in the U.S.-based manufacturing. And the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, otherwise known as TSMC, announced a $100 billion investment in the U.S.-based chips and manufacturing, she added. And these are just a few that have already been made. And it is clear that President Trump's America First approach is already working. All right. Well, I want to see. In anticipation of his announcement, Israel Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, I'm probably butchering it and I apologize, signed an order to remove all remaining import tariffs on Americans' goods, subject to the approval of the Finance Committee, according to the Times of Israel. Trump himself has indicated he expects other nations to drop their tariffs on American goods in response to his moves, and stated that India would soon drop many of its tariffs. I heard, this is him quoting him, that India is going to be dropping its tariffs substantially. A lot of countries are going to drop their tariff, he told reporters on Monday. Well, there's some opposition and the Republican Party is divided. Like I said, I think this is just how we come out of the gate with it more than anything. Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat from Virginia, has led a resolution to end the emergency declaration that prompted Trump's tariffs on Canada. So far, 3 Republicans have aligned with the Democrats to back the measure, including Tom Tillis of North Carolina, Rand Paul of Kentucky, that's surprising, Susan Collins from Maine. At least one more Republican would be needed to sign on to pass the measure, which would more likely fail in the House. And then if it did make it to the House, it would obviously probably not be signed by the president. Some Republicans are enthusiastically on board with the tariff. Speaking on Just the News, No Noise television show on Tuesday, Representative Riley Moore, who's a Republican from West Virginia, pointed out free trade practices had led to job losses in his own district. The American workers have been living in a trade war for over 40 years. That is correct. And they've seen their jobs decimated, like mine in the state of West Virginia, where just last year, because the Biden administration would not implement tariffs on tin plate steel, not sure exactly what that is, that was being dumped into the market by China and Canada and some other countries. We lost 1,000 jobs in my district alone, and we had to idle that steel plant. So I'm guessing they're saying they just closed the doors that's still there and can go back to work. So that's not putting America first. And I agree. You want to make sure that we take care of us Americans. So President Trump is the first person in my lifetime, this is still quoting her, who is really trying to reset this table and put us in a good position to be able to succeed here in this country. So I noticed that he did this after the close of the stock market. They have reeled in the wake of his tariffs thus far. Yeah, I know our pensions have all been hit by it, but he's going to make the announcement at the end of our market day, which is, well, that's good or bad. But anyhow, I guess it depends on how big the pony is coming out of the gate. Should Trump opt for broader tariffs, equities are likely to witness a similar drop. In other words, we're going to see some things go up, but the Dow has returned. It's all bounced back. So I think today there's just a lot of fear because, like a lot of people, nobody knows what he's going to say. I think that's kind of his thing. He likes to come out of the gate and I don't know. I'm not for that, but whatever. It's his circus, not mine. Tariffs are blooming in the Rose Garden. This is from, who is this from? This is from Breitbart. Make sure to quote my source. If you don't want to hear me do it, you can go over to Breitbart.com, find it, and you can have them play it for you. But otherwise, you're going to listen to me pontificate. President Trump is set into the Rose Garden tomorrow, which is today, for the consequential economic statement of his second terms. Markets are bracing, diplomatics are dialing, pundits are speculating wild one, but no one, not Wall Street, not foreign governments, not even inside the West Wings, this is what I was getting at, seem to know exactly what will be announced. Thus, it turns out, is part of the design. See, it's like I said. He has dubbed it Liberation Day, where there will be sweeping new tariffs. The ambiguity is not a bug, it's leverage. This article goes on to say that the trading system is rigged against the United States, and it does outline specific numbers, and you can come and look at it yourself. A German auto maker exporting a car to the U.S. does no tax-free thanks to the VAT rebate. An American automaker shipping a car to Europe pays embedded U.S. taxes and in a European VAT upon entry. One enjoys de facto exports subsidy, the others faces a tax wall. See, and that's what we're talking about. That's just one example. There's probably plenty more, and I wish we knew about them. So Liberation Day is not the start of a trade war, but its end. And I'm hoping that's what it is. I hope it's a reset. It says, according to Breitbart, this reporter says it's long overdue. For 50 years, the consensus position was that America should absorb these shocks for the sake of global harmony. I heard a speaker one time say, if the blue collars in America took one day and stopped working, the entire world economy would reel from that, because we pay for everything. The blue collar worker, it's on our backs. So I know, Australia, I'm probably not helping you right now. I'm hoping your country is facing similar problems. So I think that we need to see how this comes out of the gate. Hopefully, we're probably going to see some markets go down tomorrow, but hopefully we'll get reset this and it'll all go okay. While we're speaking of President Trump, some people, including myself, have stated that the folder. What, I don't know. Oh, I got you, Chris. Some people, including myself, have said we want to see some of the issues that you promised us, and we're not kind of getting them. So there's a lot of people saying that he is being slow to respond to his voters. So they put out today 50. This is from Zero Hedge, 50 achievements in 50 days. And obviously I'm not going to list them all because I do not have that kind of time, but we will kind of hit the highlights. So he has stopped the BOIR. The Biden era mandate was for beneficial ownership information report with financial crimes. So in other words, they didn't report them. He's ended the hen slaughter. Thank you. So that'll help reset the egg. He's ended the war on crypto. Don't really know about that. DEI, that's a hot button. RFK at the HHS. Come on, RFK. You were put in there for a reason. Do something. You're kind of being slow out of the gate. I like the way that Trump come out of the gate. He came out shooting from the hip. Ending U.S. aid. That's not entirely true. They didn't end it. They merged it under the State Department. Yes, there were some people fired. Yes, there were some people that lost their jobs. Yes, there's some restructuring, but you can't continue writing your check. We don't use checkbooks anymore. We don't use 8-tracks anymore. We don't use cassettes. In my era, we went from vinyl to 8-track to cassette to CD to, I don't know what the hell you call it now. You just download it. So there's always change. And this is what's upsetting people. There's just too much change too fast, but we've been too slow. You can go in here and read the whole 50 points if you want. He's pushed back on the legacy media. Big fan of, although I will have an article where Joe Rogan kind of goes on the defensive against him a little bit here in a few. Critical race theory ban. That's kind of a hot button, as well as a trans military ban. Hey, if you can pull the trigger and kill the enemy and you're physically fit to do it, I don't give a rat's ass. Chris says it's bullshit. The public on the release of the UN redacted. Exactly. What did we get out of it? We got nothing. So, in fact, I saw, of course, what's his name? The guy who did the film, Martin, the director. He wants to have it opened again. And I thought, no, that's just because you haven't had a movie out in a while, dude. That's that's your reasoning. So, yeah, push for food cleanup. Come on. We wanted that red dye out of our food. It's still, I've got yellow number 3 in my Mountain Dew here. Come on. Of course, that might make it taste bad, but we'll discuss that when it happens. I may argue that point. But yeah, so you can go over to Zero Hedge. The headline of the article is 50 achievements in 50 days, and you can read that, and they do outline all 50. We're going to kind of skimp them today because we're pressed for time. We're going to cover this one. This will probably upset some people on the other side. How NORAD could be hurt by U.S.-Canada tensions. This comes to us from Defense One. All right, so U.S. commander says a Canadian exit would partially blind the Pentagon to enemy missiles, at least until new defenses could be built. 2 problems with this article. 1, we shouldn't put it out. 2, what the hell, Canada? So without Canada's radar sites, the northern approaches would be severely under-resourced, and we would lose a significant amount of domain awareness and response in the northern approaches, which is the fastest and the easiest approach for our adversaries to take to North America, said General Gregory Gilliot, head of the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD. The future of NORAD, the world's only binational command, has come into question, and Trump threats to heavy tariffs and turns Americans' northern neighbors into the 51st state. which I found out it pisses off some people apparently. In response, the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, declared the centuries-old U.S.-Canada relationship to be over. Everything NORAD does is interwoven with Canada, so the command would have to fundamentally change how it conducts air defenses and maritime warning, he told lawmakers during a House Armed Service Committee on Tuesday. He said the U.S. would need to spend heavily on radars, aircraft, and warships to rebuild its ability to spot incoming threats. And I think if Canada knows it's going to fly over their country, they might call us and go, hey, we don't like you, but something's happening. So it may slow it, but it won't be by a significant amount, I wouldn't think. But that's just me. I don't know. He said the military-to-military relationship between the U.S. and Canada remains as strong as ever, and that he hasn't seen the White House stance cause friction at NORAD. In other words, he's saying he hasn't seen any friction yet. He's warning. We have several hundred Canadians that work side by side with us well at the installations. At the military relationships level, we have zero problems or concerns. Everybody's focused on defending our continent. During the hearing, Democratic lawmakers voiced concerns that Trump's trade war were pushing allies away from the U.S., pointing to a recent agreement between Japan, South Korea, and China. Trump is set to announce the new tariffs on Wednesday, at the purpose of reducing our reliance on foreign products. Amazon's going to take a hit. Border operations defense officials also testified on the department's intensifying border operations, which have cost the Pentagon $376 million over the past 2 months, according to one Rafael Leonardo, who is performing the duties of Assistant Defense Secretary for Homeland Defense and Hemispheric Affairs. Never heard of that department. The money has gone to send more troops to the border, use military aircraft to deport people, and expand detention operations at Guantanamo Bay, among other missions. Okay, well, it's kind of the military's job to take care of terrorists. Chris says, breaking, U.S. would have to put even more money on the defense industry. Never could have seen that coming. Exactly. Have we not said in before, they're losing $50 billion a year when they leave the Ukraine war. We've got to find somebody else to bomb. So at any rate, this general is concerned it could cause a problem and lead to aero defense problems. I don't think it's going to come to that, but hey, what do I know? All right, so here, I'm on the other side of the wall with this one. Canadian snowbirds are selling their U.S. homes. I'm looking for a small condo in Pensacola, preferably the third or fourth floor facing the ocean. Just pointing it out. Some Canadians are ditching their winter homes in the U.S. as tensions between the U.S. countries simmer. Why it matters? President Trump's tariffs and taunts may be the last straw for snowbirds who are already finding it more expensive to live south of the border, real estate agents say. What we're hearing, my Canadian sellers are worried. They feel like they have to take a break from the U.S. for now and where it goes, said Alexandria DuPont, a broker who helps snowbirds buy and sell condos in Florida, she reported to Axios. I'm reading an Axios article, by the way, but I do want a condo if you know of one cheap. The big picture, Americans' northern neighbors make up 11% of foreign home buyers. I could argue that because some guy in Germany owns my house until I pay him $750,000. So bullshit. Oh, did I say that out loud? National Association of Realtors data shared this with Axios. Florida attracts the most Canadian buyers, followed by Arizona and California. I can concur with that because I have flown many of them back to die in their healthcare system in Canada. The recent friction with Canada, including Trump's drama and talk of annexation, comes as the Canadian dollar weakens against the U.S. dollar. Meanwhile, homeowners association fees and insurance costs have surged, especially in Florida. Yes, they have. Snowbirds are also rattled by the Trump administration to require Canadians staying in the U.S. for longer than 30 days to registration with immigration authorities, says DuPont, who has dual citizenship. What they are saying, we are done for a while. Martin Buck, a Canadian who sold his family's Arizona vacation home just before Trump was sworn in, told the Vancouver Sun. What to watch? Florida real estate agent Catherine Spiro told CBS 12 News that some of her Canadian clients were looking to spend their winters elsewhere, like Mexico. Reality check, not all Canadians are abandoning the U.S. real estate market. A lack of available inventory, not economic uncertainty, is more likely to hold them back, says Matt Christopher. His last name's got Chris and Son in it, as a research director at the National Association of Realtors. But the word of departure spreads fast, nudging more Canadians to follow suit. All right, well, what are we saying here? What does Brenda say? Make sure it's made for me to come visit. No. I'm going to get one that is not ADA compliant, Brenda, just because of you. So Trump is seriously considering Iran's offer of indirect nuclear talks. So we talked about this the other day. Iran doesn't want to negotiate with us because they will be seen in their country as weak. So they're going to probably use somebody else to talk to us. So now Trump is signaling that he's okay with that. And we talked about, I thought it might be Egypt at the time. We don't know who it'll be. This article may tell us. This comes to us from Axios as well. The White House has seriously considered an Iranian proposal for indirect nuclear talks, while at the same time significantly boosting U.S. forces in the Middle East in case President Trump opts for military strikes, according to U.S. officials. Why it matters, Trump has repeatedly said he'd prefer a deal, but warned that without one, there will be a bombing. That sounds redneck. There's going to be a bombing coming there. I'm telling you. His timeline is tight. He gave Iran a 2-month deadline to reach a deal, but it's not clear when and if the clock started ticking. The White House is still engaged in internal debate between those who think a deal is achievable and those who see that as a waste of time and back strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. In the meantime, the Pentagon is engaged in a massive buildup of forces. We've covered that. And remind me, Chris, before we get out of here, I found a new way of tracking our military marine vessels. Behind the scenes over the weekend, Trump received Iran's formal response to the letter he sent to the Supreme Leader al-Khamenei 3 weeks ago. A U.S. official said, while Trump proposed direct negotiations, the Iranians would agree only to indirect talks mediated by Oman. Okay, that's cool. The U.S. official said the Trump administration thinks direct talks would have a higher chance of success, but isn't ruling out the format the Iranians proposed and doesn't object to the Oman serving as a mediator, between the countries, as the Gulf state has in the past. That's great news. Both U.S. officials said no decision has been made and internal discussions are still ongoing. After the exchange of letters, we are now exploring the next steps in order to begin conversations and trust buildings with the Iranians. I like that. Driving the news, the rhetoric between Tehran and Washington was already ratcheting up before Trump's threat to bomb Iran if it hasn't reached a deal. On Monday, they fired back and said that while he doesn't believe the U.S. would attack Iran, they certainly will receive a heavy blow in return if they do so. Iran has lodged a formal diplomatic protest channeled via the Swiss embassy, as the U.S. and Iran lack diplomatic relations, and warned it could respond decisively and immediately to any threat. The U.S. has 10 bases and 50,000 soldiers in the region. If you live in a glass house, you shouldn't throw stones, the commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps told the Iranian TV earlier this week. The advisor and parliamentary leader stressed that if the U.S. bombs Iran's nuclear facilities, Iranians' public opinions will press the government to change its policy and develop a nuke. So that's the big friction point right now. In the meantime, Iran has dramatically increased its enrichment and is now effectively a nuclear threshold state, although Tehran insists it does not seek a nuclear weapon. Iran says it is also unwilling to negotiate on non-nuclear matters such as its missile programs, which Trump and his team have previously said must be on the table. The Pentagon announced Tuesday that it was sending additional troops and air assets to the region, and that 2 aircraft carriers, the Truman and Vinson, would remain in the region. Last week, we reported on this. The Pentagon sent several B-2 stealth bombers to Diego Garcia military base in the Indian Ocean as part of its plan. And also made a comment yesterday and said that was within striking range of Iran. It is not. B-2 bombers can carry huge bunker buster bombs that would be a key element in any possible military action against Iran's underground nuclear facilities. Should Iran or its proxies threaten American personnel and interests in the region, the U.S. will take decisive actions to defend our people. So, all right, we don't want to go to war, but we don't like what you're doing either. So we'll keep an eye on that, but tensions are high right now. And they've even some within Trump's own party have decided on flipping on bombing the Houthis. This comes to us from, who is this from? Defense News. This is according to Noah Robertson from the Pentagon Stories. The Trump administration began striking targets across Yemen. They did so last night even to reopen global shipping before many of the top officials, including a journalist on a group chat, planned those strikes. Oh yeah, we talked about that. In fact, even Donald Trump took this off. In fact, before Donald Trump took this office in January, many in his administration didn't think attacking the Houthis was a good idea. We are burning readiness to tune of tens of $billions for what really amounts to a ragtag bunch of terrorists that are Iran proxies, according to Mike Waltz, now the president's national security advisor. Iran is the core of the issue. It's truly a mark of how off-kilter our foreign policy is that we are embarking on ongoing military attacks in Yemen without any really prospect that we don't know that they'll be effective. Since the group chat on the commercial app Signal became public last week, not all of it is public yet, by the way. He has withheld some of it, which I think is a good thing. They were deemed highly successful, and they began in March. Even more, it's framed the campaign as they return to American strength after years of deferred maintenance under the previous administration. But as some of the officials' past statements show, the airstrike campaign shows a change in how some members of the Trump administration see the Middle East and American interests there. These strikes have certainly escalated since last year, but they represent a high degree of continuity with the Biden administration and are likely to encounter the same problem. The most recent attacks in Yemen began March 15th. The U.S. Central Command Unit hit 30 targets across Yemen belonging to the Houthis, a terrorist group largely sustained by Iran. Immediately, the administration sought to distinguish these attacks from the predecessor, Joe Biden, the former president and chief commander-in-chief. So his response was pathetically weak, so the understated Houthis just kept going. This is according to the article. Shortly after Israel's war in Gaza began in the fall of 2023, the Houthis began attacking commercial ships passing through the Red Sea. That's where 15% of global trade passes. All right, so in response, the U.S. and a group of other countries began a task force intending to protect those shipping lanes. And we've got to remember, they're also merchant marines. Those are American citizens on those ships. Chris says burning tens of $billions is our government specialty. Exactly. We're made for that. So the Trump administration's answer has been hit harder, hit more often. So, but the problem, here we go. Bombs, bullets, there we go. We're paying for all that. The problem is, are we making a difference? I mean, that's the key to all this. Are we making a difference? If you want to get rid of the snake, you got to cut its head off. And we just talked about that. So we've got the Red Sea back open. We're protecting the ships there, but they're still doing their stuff. So are we making a difference by spending all that money? I'll leave that question for you to ponder. All right. And this one I find incredibly off-putting. Trump says nothing. This is according to an article from Zero Hedge. Trump says nothing is off the table in obtaining Greenland. President Trump said over the weekend that he has absolutely had real discussions about annexing the semi-anonymous, in other words, our free-thinking Danish territory of Greenland. We'll get Greenland, yeah, 100%. It's a quote from President Trump, according to NBC News, in a phone interview on 29 March, saying that there's a good possibility that we could do it without military force, but he wouldn't take anything off the table. Now, this is according to an NBC report that they're republishing in Zero Hedge. Our message to Denmark is very simple. You've done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have not done a good job. You have not done a good job by the people in Greenland. And that's what Vice President Vance said. NBC's asked Trump on the statement about annexing would send to Russia and other nations. And he said, this is President Trump. I don't think about that. I don't really care. Greenland's a very separate subject, very different. It's international peace. It's internal security and strength. That was according to President Trump. You have ships sailing outside Greenland from Russia, from China, from many other places, and we're not going to allow things to happen that are going to hurt the world or the United States. All right, so they're requesting many agencies, including Zero Hedge and the Epoch Times, I can't pronounce that, has requested the full transcript, but has not gotten it as of yet from NBC. So basically, Greenland, you're ours. Hey, the Canadians, they can go. Well, no, they can't go there north for the winter because it's cold and snowy. I might go there. I said a few weeks ago, what we should do is those mice that we got, the great woolly mice that we made. Let's let's make a bunch of them and turn them loose on Greenland. They'll come running out. And where was it last week? We reported on rats that were the size of cats. New York. Take some of them up there. Well, they might not survive in the cold. At any rate, the other headline we're talking about is Val Kilmer. Oh, he's one of the greatest Batmans. I'm Your Huckleberry. The Doors. He was such a great actor. He had many great roles past Top Gun and Batman, of course. He was 65 and he lost a long battle with his health. This comes to us from the Daily Mail. And they're discussing easy to miss throat cancer symptoms everyone needs to know as Batman star Val Kilmer dies after a 10-year-long battle. His daughter, Val Kilmer's daughter, Mercedes Kilmer, whom he shared with his ex-wife, Joanne Whaley, revealed he passed from pneumonia in LA on Tuesday. He was diagnosed with throat cancer in 2014 and underwent surgery, including a tracheostomy, which significantly impacted his ability to speak. And if you saw the second Top Gun, you saw that. He was later declared cancer-free, but on several occasions he had spoken publicly about the impact the disease and his subsequent cancer treatment had on his health. He underwent both radiotherapy and chemotherapy, as well as the tracheostomy, a procedure to create an artificial hole in your neck to help you breathe. The latter permanently damaged his vocal cords and forever altered his speaking voice. Something a lot of people did not know, he actually sung a lot during the Doors movie. He actually performed Jim Morrison's part. He was excellent. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's great. All right, so throat cancer is not a medical term, with doctors instead distinguishing cancers that develop in this part of the body into two main types. I could argue with that, but because I worked for a cancer doctor. There are cancers of the larynx and of the voice box, and those of the pharynx, a hollow muscular tube inside the neck that starts behind the nose and opens into the larynx and windpipe. Cancer that affects the head and neck are the eighth most common let's try this again. Cancer that affects the head and neck are the eighth most common form overall in the UK, although they are 2 to 3 times more common in men than in women. About 12,500 new cases are diagnosed each year, according to the cancer research in the UK, and the incidences are on the rise. It is estimated to claim the lives of around 4,000, these are UK numbers, people a year, and I'm sure it's higher in the US. Doctors have recently warned that they are seeing more throat cancer in much younger patients, probably because of this right here, vaping. Just had to guess. In a report, a doctor revealed hundreds more people are dying from the disease than before the COVID pandemic, with almost a 50% increase since 2013. Smoking, alcohol, and HPV, a normally harmless virus, is spread sexually and through skin contact are the primary causes, but the symptoms of throat cancer depend on the specific type you have. And they reveal here some warning signs and how you can get checked out. A hoarse voice, earache, painful to swallow, weight loss, that's a big one, but it might be too late by then, and shortness of breath are some of the signs. And you can go and you can check this out. You can go to the American Cancer Society and get checked. This is one that worries me about. Mrs. Sportcat, a cough that does not go away, a lump in the neck, shortness of breath. That could be many things, but anytime you're short of breath, you need to be checked. Brenda says, hey, what? Unexplained weight loss. Yes, the unexplained weight loss is a big sign because cancer loves sugar. And the more sugar you eat, the more you are feeding the cancer. I worked for a cancer doc for several years. I know just a tad bit about it, and it's a scary, scary disease. It's hard to shake. All right, so we're going to leave that, but make sure if you have any concerns to check with your doctor. Check yourself often because, well, you never know. It can sneak up on you. All right, so we all heard whatever you think of Democrat Senator Cory Booker's 25-hour speech yesterday, his temper tantrum, whatever. If this comes to us from Breitbart, so I'm quoting from Breitbart, and there is partially some opinion here. If Senator Cory Booker, the Democrat from New Jersey, hopes his all-night theatrics on Monday will be remembered, thanks to one of his staff members, they will be. Booker's staff member Kevin A. Batts was arrested Monday evening for carrying a pistol on Capitol grounds moments before Booker began his all-night speech on the Senate floor, protesting President Donald Trump's America First agenda, according to the NOTUS. I'm going to have to Google that one. I don't remember what NOTUS is. A NOTUS reporter witnessed staffer Kevin A. Batts being arrested Monday at 6:29 p.m. Eastern as Booker prepared to begin his speech around 7. He was handcuffed and placed in the backseat of a U.S. Capitol Police, USCP, vehicle outside the Senate side of the Capitol, according to the report. They confirmed the arrest Tuesday while Booker spoke on the floor. Yesterday afternoon, a member of Congress led an ID'd staff member around security screening at the Hart Senate office building and said in a statement later that evening outside the Senate gallery that the ID'd staff member, who was a retired law enforcement officer, if I remember correctly, he was from NYPD, and told our officers he was armed. All weapons are prohibited on Capitol grounds, even if you're a retired law enforcement officer or have a permit to carry in any other state or the District of Columbia, according to the police. Nothing noting Batts was arrested for carrying a pistol without a license. Booker is an avid Second Amendment restrictionist and has backed up his justification with false claims, including we have more people in America that have died from my short lifetime due to gun violence than in every single one of our wars. As he was still speaking on the floor at the time of publishing it. Wendell, Denise is here. Hello, Wendell. Welcome. So that comes to us from Breitbart. His staffer is taking some of his thunder. So, but yes, you cannot carry. All right, so we'll jump back over and piss off some people on the other side. This article comes to us from Zero Hedge. And this headline is, they were literally, quote, Michael Jacksoning him. Incredible details of Biden's decline. All right, so excerpts have emerged from a new book entitled Fight Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House by Hill's senior political correspondent Amy Parnes. And NBC Digital senior political analyst Jonathan Allen revealed that Democrats and Biden insiders were all too painfully aware of what was going on, but went along with the facade. I don't know. They went along with the game until it was no longer possible to hide. In one accent, nobody's taking your guns, Brenda, but you can't take them onto the White House or Capitol grounds. Come on, calm yourself. I do have an article about Georgia guns, but I'm not going to bring it up because I haven't read it yet, or I haven't vetted it yet. So this book is coming out, and there's excerpts, and one excerpt says Biden aide shared that they had a resident makeup artist to cover how dilapidated Biden's physical appearance had concerned. A conservative commentator, Stephen L. Miller, put it, Stephen L. Okay, it's not Stephen A. They were literally Michael Jacksoning him and calling anyone who questioned him a conspiracy theorist. Well, that's pretty correct. At the G7 summit in Italy preceding the debate, Biden was tired when he arrived in most of the sessions, and aide told Parnes and Allen to cover the physical sides of Biden's aging. A makeup artist met with him in the morning when he traveled. The artist covered up aging signs before Zoom calls with his aides. Biden consistently made those makeup appointments, but he sometimes canceled. Now, you have to go read the whole text. But yeah, he would get his makeup done all day. So they were weekend at Birmingham. Another incident saw Biden at not recognizing or knowing Representative Eric Swalwell and having to be coached in to remember him. The Hill notes Swalwell had not been invited to the White House often, like most members of Congress, but when Biden and Swalwell come face to face, Biden didn't immediately recognize the congressman, according to the book. Swalwell noted to personal details in Biden of who he was, while they remained quiet at the time. Miller notes that everyone is coming out of the woodwork now in the book. Deals are being bandied already. All right, Democrat Party officials and White House staffers were well aware of the former president's frailties. ahead of the choice to end his ill-fated re-election bid last summer, according to exclusive excerpts in a new book. There's always a book coming out after every one of them. Yes, they should have coached him on walking up planes. Well, if you remember, they did, Chris. They changed. He no longer boarded Air Force One via the front door. He went in via the back door, which was lower steps, and he could take an elevator up to the presidential part. I think it's an elevator. It's not steps. I know that. Maybe it's a lift. I don't know. Maybe somebody hand carries him. But at any rate, he went through shorter steps. The book notes that Biden's allies were planning for his death and someone else becoming the Democratic nominee as early as 2023. Whoa, that's cold. That's really cold. Kamala Harris team insiders reportedly drew up a death pool roster of federal judges who might swear her in if Biden died in office. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at this, but this is too funny. The new 2024 book election reveals the Democrats were prepared for him to die in office as early as 2023. It claims they secretly had a death pool of judges who could have sworn in Kamala Harris. You just can't make this up. This is America, people. So you need to endorse me, Harris begged Biden in the moments before the ticket switch, as reported by The Hill in excerpts of the book Fight Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House. I'm going to buy this just because it's going to be, there's plenty of this article. I'm not going to cover it here, but there was a death pool. Come on, man. Even by my standards, that's pretty rough. All right, I'm going to leave that there. Let's see. We'll cover this briefly. This is about a victory for Eric Adams, New York City mayor, at his tossed. But the judge, according to the Daily Mail, left a blistering comment. I don't know that it was blistering, but he did make a comment. Let's scan down here to read it. So they dismissed the charges without prejudice, which ensures that they cannot prosecute him. And he wrote that he wanted an indictment not to be used as leverage over the mayor of New York. He wrote in his ruling that if he had not dropped the case against Adams with prejudice, it would create the unavoidable perception that the mayor's freedom depends on his ability to carry out the immigration enforcement priorities of the administration, and that he might be more beholden to the demands of the federal government than to the wishes of his own constituents. I'm sorry, I disagree with the headlines. That's not blistering, but that's their opinion. All right. And so this one comes to us from the AP. This one is wild. The judge holds an ICE agent, a law enforcement agent, in contempt of court after he detained a suspect during a trial. Boston, according to the AP, a judge is holding a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent in contempt after he detained a suspect while the man was on trial. ICE agent Brian Sullivan detained Wilson Martell LeBron last week as he was leaving court. But a Boston municipal court judge issued a ruling Monday against Sullivan, that's the police officer, arguing that he had deprived Martell LeBron of his rights to due process and fair trial by taking him into custody. Me and Ross were just discussing this. I do not, in my opinion, think this Wilson Martell LeBron, who had committed a crime, not only by entering the country illegally, but by the crimes that were charged to him in Boston, he had no constitutional rights because he was not an American citizen. That is my opinion. That is my opinion only, but that's what I think. So he was arrested outside while he was during the trial that was ongoing for him making false IDs. Well, apparently he had other warrants, which you can be arrested for other warrants while you're in a trial. Apparently he had other warrants from other jurisdictions that he had not answered for drug charges and drug running. So under the administration, he was therefore detained and, well, he's in ICE custody. So now they're going to have to decide if Boston is going to prosecute the police officer for following his orders. That's going to be a very slippery slope. All right, Joe Rogan, we talked about him and how he loves Trump so much? Well, he also called the deportations. This is according to Axios, an article from Axios. Joe Rogan, the podcaster, the MAGA world can't ignore warned his listeners about people who are not criminals getting lassoed up and deported and sent to El Salvador prison. All right, why it matters is the Trump administration has rushed to carry out deportations as quickly as possible. They've made mistakes, raising concerns about due process along the way. Right's unified front in favor of Trump's immigration purge is beginning to crack, according to the New York Times. Case in point, a Salvadorian national living in Maryland legally was wrongly deported to El Salvador by the Department of Justice, and that's per admission in court papers, according to Axios. The erroneous deportation of Kilmar Armando Abreu Garcia was first reported by The Atlantic. He hasn't been convicted of any gang-related crimes. Vice President Vance tweeted that a court document shows he is a convicted MS-13 gang member with no legal right here. So this one's being checked out. Garcia has not been convicted of any gang-related crimes, according to a confidential informant. He was a confidential informant to ICE, according to the court filing. It is unclear if any of his tattoos are gang-related. Rogan calls this horrific. Well, he was correct. If he was here legally and he got taken out, that is horrific, and because it's going to be tough to get him back. So they reported extensively on immigration dives in the ordeal of Andre Jose Hernandez Romero, the makeup artist Donald Trump deported to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act. Blitzer draws on interview that Andre's American attorneys, his mother, and members of his home community in Venezuela, where he had been cherished as part of the local theater scene, and once residents note a great talent of our town. There's something painfully desperate in their insistence, Blitzer writes, as if seeing images of Andre for himself would help correct an otherwise stunning culture misunderstanding. So in other words, I do have a Mountain Dew, Brenda, but all right, so we're at the top of the hour, and I'm not through with my news yet. Thank you to Radio X Australia for allowing us on. And, of course, to Yerg's Radio. You can find us at yergsradio.com and the Rainbow Radio Network. But we encourage you to please come over, like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Para R Normal, 3 words, and Guys, Guyz. So come over to YouTube and join the chat. Like and subscribe. You can get in here with Brenda, Denise, Wendell, sometimes Mr. Yergs himself. So I know he's a Hollywood celebrity, but we occasionally get him. So, all right, so we'll go back to pissing off the other side. We got to jump from this because we got a lot of weather to report. Unearthed FBI chat reveals gag order on the Biden laptop expose. Internal FBI chat logs reveal that the Bureau imposed a gag order on agents regarding the New York Post bombshell story on the Hunter Biden laptop, along with showing his depravity. The laptop, I think that means he was a pervert. The laptop revealed Joe Biden's involvement in his son's foreign business dealings. The FBI chats published Tuesday by the House Judiciary Committee on X, you can go check it out, that gag order extended to an FBI analyst who attempted to alert social media companies that the laptop was authentic. And they moved to censor the story of the spread. October 14, 2020, the New York Times released the report, and they said that you guys are tackling the coverage of this laptop, right? And he replied affirmative. Later, agents whose name remained sealed sent message, right answer, nobody on call is authorized to comment upon the article, as is nobody is authorized to comment. One agent asked if another had admonished the colleague who revealed the laptop's authenticity to big tech companies. Yes, he won't shut up. Hours later, agents reiterated that they're forbidden from commenting on the laptop story with messages like official response, no comment, we cannot comment. And previously described interview revealed that during a Zoom meeting with big tech, an FBI agent was interrupted before he could confirm the laptop was real and already in the Bureau's possession. The FBI had verified the laptop in 2019 by cross-referencing its serial number with Hunter Cloud's iCloud storage, according to the FBI agent, during the criminal trial. Despite this verification, the Bureau remained silent while social media companies debated whether the Post story was tied to a Russian disinformation campaign. All right, so you can go to X and find all of this released, and you can also jump over to Zero Hedge and find this article on today under the Unearthed FBI chat log reveals gag order on the Biden laptop. All right, so I think that's, I don't know that I've really got time for this, but today they're going to decide TikTok's fate. So President Trump is having a meeting on that, so we'll see what happens with that. Let's see what else we got here. Death of a veteran found in a car at the California VA is the latest in a string of suicides. Yes, we wanted to highlight military police veteran was wanted by the police for was found dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound outside the VA. And this report, it's a great article. This comes to us from military.com. It's an official website of the military. And this goes on to talk in here about the problem with our veterans they're facing. Let me go down to the statistic here. There were 6,407 veteran suicides in 2022, 3 more than 2021. Of that number, 6,136 were male, 271 were female. And then they go on to speak about how the number is growing and with the things that are going on. Where is the number? There's one every so many minutes. And 17 veterans die each day by suicide, and our work is not finished. You're correct. If you need someone, reach out, call out, go over to military.com and check out this. I hate to sound like I'm bumping through it real quick, but veterans deserve better. All right, let's go to other news, and I can come back to that if we have time. FEMA has failed me. Let me see if I can update here. Nope, FEMA has still failed me. So they're still on yesterday's news. FEMA. It's bad day coming, and it's FEMA letting me down. 17 a day is horrible, Chris, for it, no matter what you are, as far as military, police, fire, EMS, whatever. We need to do better as a country. We need to take mental health more serious. All right. Speaking of mental health, our president today, his schedule. Oh, good Lord, I hit the wrong button again. His schedule today, President Trump's schedule. Of course, we know there's always a 9 a.m. press time for in pool. 11:14, lunch lid was called. In other words, White House was sealed. 4 o'clock, that's the big show. President participates in the Make America Wealthy Again event. And it's in the Rose Garden. And unless you're pre-credentialed media, you cannot attend. Now, I had not heard that it was called Make America Wealthy Again event. Mawa? No, it's Wawa. They're a gas station, aren't they? So we're Mawa. All right. Mawa today. Mawa for everyone. All right. We're going to jump over to the National Weather Service since FEMA is apparently letting us down, and we're going to discuss weather. There's a lot of it. We'll look down into the Atlantic and the Pacific, and we see there's nothing currently. We'll discuss that more in a bit. But what we are going to discuss is from the Great Lakes all the way down to Mexico, stretching across the midsection of the country, from Illinois, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, on the western border to Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana on the eastern border. We are expecting severe weather today. And in case you do not have a weather radio, I wanted to bring this up in present. Our government puts out a National Weather Service where you can, well, of course it don't work. What the heck? There we go. Central Daylight Time this evening. You can tune in and listen to 30 miles per hour with updated reports from the National Weather Service. Make sure to take advantage of this and get a weather radio and be weather prepared, and make sure it's battery powered so that in case you lose power, you can charge it. It's a free service they put out on the radio that you can receive, buy a radio to receive. So we've talked about this storm. This front is off of the Pacific in the west, and it's pushing across the country. There's another front up. No, let's stay there. In Canada, that's trying to push down to the south while this little low spins off, and now it's the Carolina coast, causing it to form a big U over the country. And tomorrow it's going to stall and be even worse. But tomorrow it will be further into the Ohio Valley region. I guess, the southeastern region down into Texas. So tomorrow the storms will be moving eastward, but they're going to stall, and that's when they're going to have their most maximum impact. By day 3, they're still going to be there. This is Friday we're talking about it. So this storm is going to sit there. It's going to dump horrific amounts of rain, produce tornadoes, and it's just getting fired up, folks, because it hasn't even gotten the energy from the Gulf yet. We'll look at it here on the radar in just a minute. But as it continues to go across the country, it's just going to sit there. And it's not going to be pretty for the Ohio Valley, Southeast, and parts of the Mid-Atlantic. And it's starting this afternoon, where today it could be very bad with high potential for tornadic activity pretty much through the midsection of the country. So that's a synopsis of it, but it's bad. It's bad. We'll leave it at that. All right, down under, let's look at your weather real quick. We're looking at your live satellite. Looks a little cloudy over Queensland along the Northern Territory coast, down along on the west side to Sydney. And it looks relatively clear over the southern and western portions. Let's pull up your radar. And it looks pretty much the same. Along the coastline, there's some storms. They're extending further into Queensland, where we know they've had some problems with the flooding. And so there's been a lot of problems with flooding in Queensland, and there's been a lot of people displaced from the past cyclonic event that came through. But now these rains are not helping. So they're anticipating participation to be mostly up in the northern Queensland section there along the coast where they join. Where they join right in the little, there's probably a name for that I need to know, but right there at the top of the country. Along the coastline on the western side, you're going to be highs in the 80s, and along the eastern side, it's going to be, in the 70s. All right, in the middle of the country will remain relatively cool in the high 60s. All right, so that is you guys, and I know that probably wasn't a very good job, and I apologize. And let's look at the temperature inversion that we're seeing here. Yes, they had the storm that didn't move a few weeks ago with that cyclone, and it was brutal to the east coast of the Gold Coast of Queensland. It was horrible to them. It just took out, I don't know if you looked at any pictures, but it took out feet of beach. I mean, just gone. So, all right, we'll start with looking at temperatures here, and we see, as we talked about, that front in this one are trying to push down. Well, it's in the 90s down into Texas, Monterey, Mexico, and in Seattle, it's in the 40s, while over on the East Coast, up in Maine, it's in the 20s. So this front's trying to push down, while this other one's sitting off of the Carolina, it's now the Carolina coast, and pushing back a little bit is causing this cold front to bow. And when it does, that's when it's going to get into all this heated area and get the Gulf energy. And as we've talked about, it's starting to form now. We'll look and see if there's any warnings out. But once it taps this Gulf of America energy, it's going to explode, and then it's going to just sit there. And today, the primary concerns of rain will be Milwaukee, Chicago, St. Louis. Where is this? Little Rock, Dallas, and Waco. That's how far today's line of heavy rain is going to stretch. There's going to be quite a bit of wind. We'll get to the bigger wind map here in a second, so we'll leave that one alone. We looked at temperatures already, so let's jump off of this one. And let's go to, we looked at the satellite view of the Earth. Make it bigger. There we go. And this is just the satellite view of all the different the cloud activity. We can see how it's trying to push across with just a little bit of pushback over here, causing it to bow downward to the Gulf. There's already, I think, a wind warning here. We'll find out about it today, Wendell. There was an alert that went off on my phone early this morning. I didn't wake up in time to see. Apparently, it goes away if you don't look at it. I don't know. It was kind of weird. We've kind of already looked at the cloud cover in Australia, but this is on NOAA. You can go look at the world in real time. They put all the images together, and just for Brenda, they make them into a big blue marble for you to spin around and look at. It's quite gorgeous. Brenda loves this one. Actually, I think she likes the other one better. All right, so this is real-time radar. This is real-time warnings. This comes to us complimentary of GEMA. All of my sites are public sourced, So if I don't quote them, you can just ask where they're from, but most of them you can see up top. This one is from GEMA, the Georgia Emergency Management Agency. I like this one because it puts a lot of data on one map. And you can see, for instance, if I zoom in, there's a tornado warning right here in this little county of, where is this? That's a watch, but it's in, what county is that? It's in Missouri. No, that's not in Missouri. Sorry. Where is that? South of Columbia, Jefferson City. Yeah, I guess that is that Missouri? Yeah, that's Missouri. So yeah, no, that's Illinois. Chris, that's in Illinois. Yes, Brenda loves that. She loves the flat map better. Well, Brenda, I'm sorry. I love you, Brenda. So we see the tornado warning is in effect, and I'm trying to pull up what it's in effect for 4 seconds. Well, where does it cover? Good Lord, take me to another spot. Issued from St. Louis, tornado exporting for north central Audrain County. I don't know which state that's in. Audrain County, I'm assuming Missouri. It's either Missouri or Illinois, but if you're in Audrain County and you're listening to me, take cover. There is a tornado on the ground right now, according to the National Weather Service. All right. So that's right there, I believe, at the Missouri-Illinois border, Chris, I think. But this is why I like this map. You can zoom in real time and look. You see here, all these areas in light brown and tan are wind advisories, which we're under right now. These in the lighter green are flood watch warnings. And then you see the yellow, we start to get into some significant thunderstorm warnings. And then when it turns red, that's when there's something on the ground. The blue dots represent earthquakes, and they are by different aging. Sorry, I'll take that comment down, Brenda. But you can look at the real-time satellite and see the heaviest rain right now is just west of Chicago, stretching down, but it's starting to get that energy with that tornado. It's still on the ground, according to the National Weather Service. Special weather statements all the way down to Killeen, where Brenda is, Waco. So that band stretches that far, basically from Killeen, Texas, Waco, across the country in a northeastern manner, almost dead even with Chicago. And it's just starting to gain its energy. So today is going to be a rough day, but the next two are going to be even rougher. We see up in the northeast, look up here, Rochester, they're getting a mixed bag of stuff. They're under a wind advisory in Vermont and Maine, and they're probably going to get a little snow and mixed precipitation as this front pushes through. And we follow back over across the top of the country, and we see that Montana and Bismarck up there as well. It's getting snow, and the snow is pushed off from the west. Is it now snowing in Colorado, or is Colorado done with it? I think Colorado's done with it, but they have a red flag warning in not Denver, Colorado. Whew, I'm a brain cramp. I'm trying to go too fast today. So, but yes, that's why I like this map, because Brenda Wendell, I'm not going to put that. She does say that is bad outside. I know she's in somewhere down in Texas. I think she's near Killeen. And we'll zoom in a little bit if Brenda, if she is around Killeen. There's just a little cell right there that's moving through. But the worst part for you is when this taps this energy right here. That's where it's going to be the roughest. All right, so the GEMA map, it separates it by county to state, and you can see in real time what's going on. I like this one. Some severe storms now ongoing up in Pennsylvania. If you are in Warren, Bedford, Bradford, up in that area, it looks like it's severe thunderstorms, but that's a pretty intense cell, so keep your eyes open. And we already read that. This site is also free, and I get nothing out of promoting them except for knowing that people are safe. This comes to us from, no, go to Weather Warn. What are you doing? No, stop. What did I do? Did I hit the wrong button? Continue. That's the button I wanted. Why is it not working? Hello, work. Weather Warn, close. All right, I don't know what I did there. All right, so this is Weather Warn at affirmtech.com. And also in real time, it shows you the activity to the right on a map, and it'll show where the areas for intense thunderstorms are, which right now we see it's from pretty much Texas to the Great Lakes. Wind, well, that's pretty much all of the Great Atlantic, southeast down into Texas, into the Panhandle, and tornadic events pretty much for Arkansas, Louisiana, portions of Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and it's going to be growing throughout the day. But over here on the left, you see that they put these weather warnings out in real time, which is issued by the National Weather Association. Oh, who's somebody? Chris, I love him. I don't know what y'all are talking about. What did I do? You guys are giving me grief over something. I'm sorry. Hey, Soul, welcome to the chat. So yeah, on the left here, you see all the most recent one, the new ones for Indiana and Ohio flood. Well, their one just come out for Arkansas, a severe thunderstorm warning. Thunderstorm warning is severe in Pennsylvania. Flood watches in Indiana and Ohio. Pennsylvania, we're back to that thunderstorm flood watch. Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Missouri. Special weather statements in Texas. We talked about the strong thunderstorms in Pennsylvania. Wind advisory, well, that's pretty much most of the country. Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Missouri for moderate wind. And flood warning for Tennessee, yes. Small craft advisory, those are for the Gulf areas. Well, not just the Gulf, for the coastal areas. We'll leave it at that. Wind advisories in New York. Severe thunderstorm warning in Arkansas, flooding in Mississippi, special weather statement in Oklahoma. There is a small section of country that you're talking about dust storms. So yeah, Chris, I'm looking to see if I see one today, and I don't. Maybe I hope he ain't been blown away. Down in Minnesota, we see winter storm warnings in Minnesota and Wisconsin, which we talked about. New Mexico, or I'm sorry, it's not New Mexico. What am I? I'm losing it. I do not see a text message from Andy in here. I'm really surprised. Freeze warnings in California. So you can get going down, and this on the right is by how much time they have left as to when they were put out. So you can scroll back almost 24 hours. So there was a tornado watch in Missouri 2.7 hours ago. So, but I'm still sure that it's pretty dangerous there. So, oh yeah, that was it. Where did I just see it? Dust warning. Blowing dust in Arkansas and Mississippi. So I saw that there was a dust storm blow up. But this map is great. New one just came out for Pennsylvania, severe thunderstorm warning. So keep your eyes and ears open. But this is Weather WX Warn. I encourage everybody to go check it out. I also want you to get that radio, have a flashlight, have a radio, be weather aware of what's going on around you, because the next 48 hours, maybe 72 are going to be a little rough. Let's update this because I pulled it up earlier. Just you think you have Andy figured out? You don't. I know, it's crazy. What happened? He usually has got a test message in there. I don't get it. All right, so we see, look at the energy that this is picking up. We see the winds right now. The highest speed currently is around 30 miles an hour. I'm going to guess that's centered up here. I can't really zoom in. We'll do it on the other map. But look at the energy that it's picking up from the Gulf with all that heat, and it's pulling it right down into that cold front, and it's going to push across to the east, but it's going to hit the mid-Atlantic and the southeast, and then the deep south by the weekend before it finally gets out of here over the northeastern range up there in Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Delaware, up in there. This is the real-time lightning map. This is great for showing us not only when storms are on the ground, but where the most dangerous activity. We look over here in Pennsylvania, right there at the Pennsylvania, what is that? Ohio border. Man, they are just getting hammered right now. So yeah, Cleveland over to the east into Pennsylvania. They're just getting hammered in that little region right there. There's a small one going across the Great Lakes there. Kalamazoo, Lansing, Pontiac, Flint, with some activity, but not as strong as this. It's probably picked up some power off the Great Lakes as well. Adding to its energy, it's got cold water right there. We skirt down here and we see the next area where it's the heaviest concentration would probably be in Arkansas right there. Actually, it's at the state line there between Illinois, Arkansas, going into Texas. So it's kind of running parallel there. And you can see that thunderstorm activity is really strong. So this is lightningmaps.org. Lightningmaps.org. It's public sourced. Anybody can see it. But yeah, this is This is an intense storm, and it has yet to pick up the energy that they're calling for it to. When it does, it's going to explode and then just sit on top of us. Let me refresh this because this has probably changed since I pulled it up. And this is the power outage map. You can go to poweroutage.us and check this out. It's free. Like I said, most of my stuff is public sourced. I just want people to be weather aware and know about these things. And we see that right now, the worst state is Michigan, and I'm sure that's going to increase with 161,593 without power. They've been in that for 2 days now. Brenda says Andy is sleeping. West Virginia, we see that they have 12,839, so a large percentage of their population was without power, and Louisiana. So I'm going to bet that this number grows. Let's see if we can zoom in on Pennsylvania. They must not be updating because I would assume that these sections of Pennsylvania were getting hammered. So I assume they would have lost power, but we'll look at the wind and see. Where's the other one? Over here in Ohio. Well, no, not bad. Chris, where you're at? Illinois, let's see. Only one county, Logan, is reporting some power outages, so that's good. Tennessee, that's kind of Wayne County. It's kind of weird. You'd think it would be more on the western side. Arkansas, we can start seeing it picking up. Monroe has had some problems over the past couple of days. I've been listening to them on the scanner. So yeah, they've had some problems in Dallas, Arkansas. So that is poweroutages.us. You can go check that out. All right, we're looking at, this is the weather. Well, this is the air now, according to airnow.gov. Once again, a public source. And most of the mid-Atlantic here you see is pretty clear, but that's because that wind is pushing everything out and away. Brenda, over in Texas, you're kind of suffering with some bad wind and air right now, and that's probably going to push through later in the day, but that's where the air quality is the worst right now. Pretty much Oklahoma, Kansas, parts of Texas, and border of Louisiana. You jump over to Tucson, where the heat and the dust are, in Phoenix, and El Paso there as well. That's where the air quality is moderate. It's not as extreme as it was the other day. Allergies, I just bring this up because I went outside to take out the trash last night, and I came back in and sneezed for 15 minutes. So Brenda says, yes, I'm staying in today. I don't blame you. I would too. So we look at the allergy map for the tree pollen. It's getting a little bit better as that front spreads across, but right now in Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, it sucks. Louisiana, Texas, part of your area, and then down along the Mexico border there with New Mexico, Arizona, it's pretty bad. And it's finally starting to hit over on the Colorado, or on the Sierra Nevadas down into Cascades region in California. So they're starting to see a little bit of allergies pop up. We'll pull up the aches and pains map because for some reason I was feeling it today, but it looks like the worst section is coming down out of Canada, and it's right up there where they begin all the storm and significant weather in Michigan. So I imagine they're suffering some aches and pains. This is on the Weather Channel. You can look this up and see. Interesting little side note here is the difference in temperatures as this front comes across, as to how warm it was as to how cold it will be. So you can see the blue is -8 in parts of Texas, Brenda. So as this front pushes across over the next 24 hours. All right, let's look at wildfires real quick. I'm going to look at the smoke since we just did the air quality. And we see a lot of that air quality is being affected by these fires. The smoke put off from the fires, but it's all being pushed to the south. Looks like it's being pushed to the southwest. Let's take a look at the actual fires themselves. This comes to us from NASA and the Forestry Service. Well, Oklahoma, you're getting a little bit of a reprieve. And down along the border in Mexico, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona is red flag as far as that conditions are ripe for fire. And in Colorado, sections of Colorado just south of Denver, Pueblo, Colorado Springs, that section. Phoenix has still got one fire burning. There's one fire in California, but we still have over here on the other side of the Appalachia in the Carolinas, that's burning pretty good. So hopefully the rains will help quench that. There's still the fire even down on the coast of Carolinas out by the Outer Banks. So one fire down in Georgia, but this front's going to push through. Hopefully with the rains, it will help to quench those, but the problem is also lightning starting them back up. So that is your fire activity for today. All right, so let's see. We'll go to our fan favorite. This is the wind map. Yay, I love this map. I just need to buy a plasma screen and mount it above the bed and play this 24 hours a day. What we see here is pretty much the same, but if you're listening on any of the FM or internet radio stations, come over to the Paranormal Guys, guys spelled with a Z, and check it out. Or just search out Sportcat's Daily Gazette and see our most recent show. No, Ginger, I didn't mention fire. But we can see from the wind here, this is an AI generation of what the wind conditions are in real world on our big blue globe. And we can see that coming out of the Gulf of America, that wind is just pushing straight up to the Great Lakes and spinning around where it's meeting that front. And we're pulling a little bit of wind off of the Pacific down in Mexico, but not a whole lot. But that front is really beginning to pull off the Gulf, and it's going to be fed by some Atlantic, some of the colder temperatures up to the north. And that's probably what's going to make the storms worse as it comes through. It's going to be pulling this cold air down with it, and it's going to intensify as it's drawing energy off of the Gulf of America. We'll zoom out and look and see. There's nothing in the Atlantic or the Pacific they're concerned about as far as hurricanes. And we spin around on the globe, and we'll go down under and look at Australia. And we'll see that one is spinning there, but it's moved off to the east. So I'm kind of happy about that. So it's not putting as much wind on Australia, but it's pulling along the coastline up in Queensland. But it's going to be a very windy day in Australia. Even dogs have her day off. I still believe in her abilities. She's had a day today. Let me change this for our plate-loving friends. So they can see that is the entire globe. If it was flat, which it is not, obviously, this is what the winds would look like. Would it be across the globe or around the globe? It would be across if it was flat, wouldn't it? Yeah. So this would be across the, whatever you call it, but this is around the globe. It's been flattened out, and you can also still zoom in with this as well. Ooh, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Check that out. I just learned something. Where they mold them together just for Brenda, you can, that's pretty cool. You can bend them. I like that. So see, even when it's flat, you can change it. I'm giving Brenda grief. All right, so that is the win. You can also, just for giggles, if you want, you can see where the waves are flowing and how the waves are flowing throughout the world and how the currents are being pulled. Let's look at that one down in Australia where that cyclonic event was. Good Lord, that's throwing me off. So that little cyclonic area, it's really not pulling the current out that much. Huh. All right. Go back to our big blue globe and take a look. And with that wind down here, it's not really affecting the current as much as I thought it would have. I figured it would have been pulling it away. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Well, I learned something today. All right. So if you want to see this, hold on, I will tell you where you can find this. Let me close that. You can see this at earth.nullschool.net, and you can see the waves or the wind in real time with AI. Wendell, I know you like this site. Let me update it real quick. This is the latest earthquakes according to the USGS. You have Andy on the radio. Well, tell him to send out a test message. We're worried about him. Or tell them to come over to YouTube, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Wendell, the most recent earthquake was in, where the heck is that? That's up in Alaska, Wendell. That was the most recent earthquake, followed by one in Burma. I'm not sure where that one is. That's between Alaska and the Russian Federation. That is down in Asia. So these are the most recent. The 6.2 was in Japan. And let's see, let's go to the highest in magnitude. Well, no, that didn't work. All right, so 6.2 and then a 5.2 in the mid-Atlantic and a 4.7 back in Burma. 4.7 that's in Asia as well. And a 4.5, that's in it's not the Indian Sea there, but all right. And a 5.0 in Tonga. All right, so that is your most recent 6.3 in the Pacific Antarctica. And also, speaking of Antarctica, I looked up the Fram 2 flight yesterday on YouTube. It has a page showing them, and I thought that you would be able to see what they were doing. It's live, but it doesn't show what they're doing. So I was really disappointed. I wanted to share that with you guys of all the different pictures of Antarctica that they're getting from space, but they weren't sharing it in real time. So don't know why that is. All right. So this is the Global Disaster Alert and Coordination. And we know not all countries participate in this, but most. And we look at the most recent things, an earthquake in the United States, which we just talked about this, Wendell, did we not? This was a 5.5. Where was this at today? And where was this one? Okay. This was the one off of the, in the islands between Alaska and the Russian Federation. Okay. That was where the most recent one is. And then Japan, and there were several offshore. Courtney, we're thinking she's a thing of the past going out into the Indian Ocean. Floods are pretty much United States, Italy, South America, volcanic activity in Iceland. And you can look and see the droughts and forest fires are pretty much worldwide. And apparently the Malaysia gas pipeline fire is one of the most recent things, and the severe weather in the Philippines. We'll hop over here to the event list. I will update it just to make sure we're not missing anything. And we will hop through it real quick because we're going to run out of time today if we don't hurry. I'm only going to go over things that happened recently. So anything past last night or today. In Hungary, they're concerned with the foot and mouth disease spreading between livestock and wildlife, and that is at risk for potential food prices rising. All right. We see the North Atlantic Ocean. The norovirus outbreaks affects more than 230 people on a luxury cruise liner. That's in Canada. And a fever outbreak in Nigeria overnight kills 100. Ooh, how's a fever kill people? I have to check on that. In Australia, E. coli findings is prompting recalls for salads if you're in Australia. And last night, 100 people fell ill. We talked about that. Buckwheat was killing them in Asia. Let's see. What does Wendell say? I get that several times. What, foot and mouth disease? Yeah, yes, Wendell, you do. Traffic. Let's see. That one's not recent. I'm just going to go down to recent things here. In Iraq, a man wielding an axe wounds 3 people in a Syrian Christian New Year parade. Well, you know what stops that? A man with a gun. And serial demonstrations in Hungary. They blocked Budapest bridges for hours due to restrictions on the right of assembly. Well, let people assemble. We know about the wars going on in Israel, Ukraine, and probably the Middle East before long. And over in Bulgaria, authorities declare a partial state of disaster due to fuel oil slick cleanup. In Australia, the toxic blooms. We talked about this, the Kangaroo Islands, as multiple dead sea creatures are washing ashore. Bulgaria fire temporarily shuts down a heating utility. In India, at least 13 killed in a blast at a firecracker factory. Yes, we talked about that. 4 children, 7 killed in a gas cylinder explosion. We talked about that. That was in India. Gambia, 2 killed in a naval base fire in Africa. In Vietnam, a fire kills 3 in South Vietnam. That's in Asia. In Malaysia, 25 injured in a gas pipeline fire. All right. What's this? Chris says, I was led to believe without guns, there was no violence. It's disappointing. Well, Chicago, that's what they tell you. DC, they told us that for years. Growing up, luckily I learned better. Let's see. There's the earthquakes we discussed. Let's see. Malaysia coastal erosion threatens the reputation of the iconic tourist spot. Okay, in Malaysia, coastal erosion is bad. We talked about there's volcanoes going off in Australia and, of course, in Hawaii, Kilauea, and the Spur. And is that the Great Sitkin volcano? I'm not familiar with where the Great Sitkin is. It's probably Australia. Floods swamped the Australian cattle country. That was a travesty. We didn't really talk on that. High waves caused damage on the Sydney waterfront. Man, they just can't take so much war over there. Gosh, I am so sorry, Australia. So the high waves are causing damage in Sydney, in 20 mile an hour northwest. A tsunami. Okay, 20 miles northwest of Alaska. A tsunami. Okay, that's interesting. We didn't know about that one. Samoa, we have talked about in the past with them having power outages. And let's see. In the United States, a plane crash in Ohio. Let's look that up real quick. So that's the biggest volcano in Yellowstone. Thank you, Wendell. A pilot was killed after a small plane crashed in Ohio on Tuesday, according to reports. Crash occurred at 5 p.m. local. Tuscarawas County. Fox reported news citing officials with the Ohio State Police. No one else on board the 6-seated plane when it crashed. So just the pilot. All right. There's been 123 plane accidents this year. 23 of them have been fatal, according to the NTSB. Yes, that is correct. All right, let's go back over here. India, at least 5 dead after a bus collides with an SUV. I'm not sure if we talked about that one yet. New Zealand, 13 injured in a crash. Helicopters flying people to the hospital. So I hope they were injured in a crash and then helicopters were flying them to the hospital. I hope that's the case. It's listed as a super volcano. Thank you, Wendell. I did not know that. See, Wendell likes the earthquake and volcano news. And let's see, what else have we got here? We're going down. Nothing. Well, India, 3 dead, 4 injured as privately owned trains collide. We did talk about that one. Thailand, 36 tourists and a crew caught in a huge blast. In Germany, the cruise ship, we talked about that. And let's see, it's drought, extreme rainfall. It's right now for everybody. And hail. We did talk about severe hail yesterday, and it's going to be worse today. A heat wave. Mexico's had a heat wave that hit most of Mexico this week. And extreme lightning across the globe. You can go find this under searching out global event lists. And talk about thick fog, severe weather. Greece has severe thunderstorms. The United States is having severe storms right now. Tornadoes, golf ball size from Great Lake to Texas. We talked about that. Lots of storms to talk about. In Missouri, there was a tornado earlier, and there were several in Missouri earlier. So Missouri has already caught it. Kansas caught it before that. So in Idaho prior to that. All right, so that is from the global event list. You can go find that. That is public sourced. This is what is this site? This is a USA Live map of events as they have happened and been reported in News and X. And we will start, where will we start today? We'll start up here in Vermont, and we'll see a worker killed after being crushed by a 1-ton animal feed bag. Good Lord. All right, we'll jump down here to Boston and see that fire damaged a home in Cranston. On the coastline here in New York, a 31-year-old woman identified as Jessica Hoyle shot in the head and killed outside 3442 Mickle Avenue in Williamsburg, Bronx, New York on Tuesday, April 1st. Tuesday evening at approximately 11:07 p.m., police responded to a 911 call of assault and a progress inside the Mickle Avenue residence. Upon officers' arrival, they observed a 31-year-old female with a gunshot wound to the head. EMS responded and pronounced the victim dead on scene. The investigation is ongoing. Goodness. 54-year-old man was fatally stabbed in the Bronx. That was last night. Stab wounds to the torso, was transported to the hospital where he pronounced dead. I've warned you all. We've talked about this. Chris says Andy not testing should be considered a global event. It should be. We've talked about this. The knife injuries and stabbings are going to go up. 70-year-old man was stabbed in the head and chest with a knife by a woman inside of 507 Chelsea in Manhattan on New York 1st. Incident transpired inside the building. New York PD is searching for a female suspect. Police guarded the crime scene in the main lobby. And 2 firefighters were injured as a fire engulfed a home in Linden, that is in New Jersey. If we get to it, there have been some line of duty deaths in both police and fire that we need to talk about if we get to it today. I need to highlight that. If we don't get to it, we will just highlight it on Friday. Tuesday night, a teenager was shot in a rec center, and that is in Philly. And they're investigating after a man was shot multiple times in an apartment in Upper Roxborough. Let's hop down here into Andy's neighborhood and see what we got. There was a fire in, where's this? Jarboe Road, 2-story detached garage, fire on the second floor, extinguished, confined basically to the second floor. Fire and smoke called, fire, family in the house fire, all okay, no injuries. All right, that's good news. Silver Spring, we have a police incident reported. Suspect wanted for armed robbery, drove off from police. He has since been taken into custody. Very good work. And in Bladensburg, a fatal pedestrian collision. Officer responded to 55th and Landover for a collision involving a pedestrian. On scene, they discovered an adult female suffering from trauma. She was pronounced dead on scene. Going to Washington, D.C., and Musk is taking out the garbage, according to the press secretary. Elon will depart from public service as a special government employee when his incredible work at Doge is complete. So this must be some new announcement that I haven't been made aware of yet. So didn't he say there was going to be arrests made today? It wasn't that? The U.S. government announced plans for a comprehensive review of Harvard University's federal grants and contracts as part of what it's calling to crack down on pro-Palestine. Okay. And SecDef Pete Hegseth will skip the next meeting countries that support Ukraine with weapons and other security assistance for the first time. The group will meet without the U.S. SecDef. All right. Good. A fire broke out at the Liberty Tavern, Wilson Boulevard. This is in Arlington, Virginia. Firefighters were quick to establish a command and took control of the flame and keep it from extending any further than it was. It was in a pizza oven. All right, good. I'm going to find out about that with Musk. I want to know what that was. Well, let's see. Where are we at here? We're going to be in the Carolinas. Troopers, 1 killed, 2 injured in a 3-vehicle crash on 77 over in Charlotte. We have a bicyclist dying after being struck by a motor vehicle in East Charlotte. 2 injured in East Charlotte in a Wednesday morning crash. I really don't need authorities. A shooting outside the South Carolina Walmart left 2 people, 1 detained. Well, hopefully it was the bad guy. And Hickory Airport, the plane crash. We did report on that. We'll go down to my neck of the woods here in Georgia and see what this is. Officer involved shooting in Monroe County. Local businesses and employees on edge. Of course. Teen boy hospitalized in stable condition in the shooting in Kinswick Apartments in Conyers. Police in DeKalb County, it's where I used to work, are investigating a deadly crash near the county jail. I bet I know right where that was. A man was shot overnight following a fight at a gas station in Marietta. Got a story about that, but we'll leave that alone. Birmingham. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, wrong map. Wrong one. Birmingham. Okay. Yeah, Ross, give me 1 second. And Birmingham, what do we got here? Woman killed in custody. A man in custody after shooting in Pleasant Grove. And let me, I guess, copy. I think I did that right. I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out. Yeah, Ross, if you want to join me for the local news events going on, you're welcome to. Let's see here. Where did we go? Let's hop up here to Tennessee. And what do you know? Gun violence. 1 in critical condition after shooting in a Madison hotel in Nashville. Suspect identified. Medical examiner's officers have identified the suspect in lone fatality of the 34-year-old Jesus Romero Villanueva, who died as a result of a gunshot wound. Okay, don't know what he did, but that's all right. Up in Lexington, it looks as though a car crashed into a vape shop. That's not good. And we're over here. Police responded to Bedford Avenue for a 6-round notification and subsequent 911 calls located a male with a gunshot wound to the shoulder and foot. They transported him to the hospital in stable condition. Where is that? Is that New York? That's Pittsburgh. We must have missed that somehow. 2 people are facing charges in connection with a deadly shooting that happened in the Pittsburgh Homewood neighborhood. Let's bring Jurgs in here. He can share in this. Go up here to Cleveland. That's just a car crash. And down in Columbus, tractor trailer in Columbus crash. Ross, I'm just doing the local events in the U.S. before I hop over and turn it back to you. We'll try. I might cover some more news, but for the most part, we're just going to talk about local events in the U.S. More gun violence in Chicago. I know Chris is surprised with that. Let's see. Super Saving Foods, Community Food and Liquor was robbed. Well, that was not good. Why are they robbing these places? Person with a knife in South Chicago, person with a gun. Loud reports near that part. There's always gunshot things in Chicago. I thought that was a nice city. What happened? You ever been there, Ross?
Yes. Once during the winter.
Shooting there.
I didn't shoot anybody. It was during the winter.
Did you get shot at?
I think what they do, that both Montreal and Chicago have a tremendous underground. And when it's winter, nobody's above ground.
Really?
Everybody's down below.
So they drink and shoot each other?
I say that figuratively, of course, but yeah, it's definitely wasn't that bad. I never really heard good stuff about Chicago.
South Minneapolis, an attempted carjacking by an Asian male, 19 to 25, with no teeth. Now I want to know how that had no teeth. That's pretty. When you give a description of the perp, that's pretty accurate. He had no teeth. How do you know that?
I guess. Did he get that close?
He must have. Maybe the guy punched him in the mouth and his fist went in. Maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, we know he has no teeth now because they're all in my hand.
Exactly. Wendell says hello, and he's getting blown away down in Alabama. Let's see. Yeah. Police investigating a shooting inside of a Tulsa Walmart. That's the second Walmart incident we've reported with shooting. One injured in a crash, and let's see. A resident arrived to find the car crashed into the front of their house. Well, it's a good way to come home. Let's see what's going on in Texas down here by Brenda. Teenager has been identified as the person killed in an early morning shooting. Boy, San Antonio's just got all kinds of good stuff. 2 men fatally shot at a phone repair store confrontation. I don't get it. Medical examiners identified a suspect of a lone fatality of a shooting. That was the same one we saw earlier, didn't we? A woman found with multiple GSWs near a crashed vehicle. They do not have any information. Dogs have no teeth is a great description up there with doing gang shit. Yes, that's right. That's the area where we looked at the report. There was a shooting and the caller said they were doing gang shit. That was an exact quote. So yeah, no teeth. That fits right in. Up in Seattle, what do we have? Or Tacoma, detectives investigate a fatal shooting. Okay, 1 male deceased. And down here in California, I'm just scanning around at this point. We'll hop back over to the news before we go. Let's see if there's I like these men in cloaked. Confirmed armed robbery, 250 pounds of meat. Okay, how do you get away with 250 pounds of meat?
Where do you take it?
I got to know the story behind this. Hold on a minute. We got to go for this one. 1 dead after a shooting. Oh, no, that's the wrong story. I don't want that story. I want the one about the dead meat guy. Or not the meat guy. Where were we? We're right here. All right, Los Angeles. No, I'm on the wrong one. Where did I see the dead meat? I just saw the dead meat. How do you lose a dead meat story? Armed robbery suspect stole the meat. 8811 Southwestern, confirmed armed robbery suspect stole 250 pounds of meat from Superior Grocers He used a hammer as a weapon. You not know what beats a hammer? A gun.
Yeah. Usually helps.
Just throwing it out, but it's California. How do you steal meat? Brenda says a lot of people steal meat. Okay, well, I didn't know that. All right, we'll get out of this and see what else is going on. The fire map from New England is the typical areas. The only thing new, I think, up here was St. Paul. They had a large fire at a power plant. And down here in Missouri, they had a large fire in a occupied multifamily dwelling. In New York, we always have pretty good fires. Give me an echo here, Ross. New Hampshire, suspect taken into river after they jumped into the water. Well, that's good. And
yeah,
this is another one.
I'm not the guy that's going to go in after him now. That's going to be cold.
It's up there, especially. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. The water's warm down where you are, isn't it?
No, it's still in the high 60s,
Really?
low 70s, maybe.
Well, I guess it's getting close.
There were parts further south last year that were in the 100s. 100
Hey, wow.
degree ocean water.
Wow. That's the Caribbean.
Oh, that's where I'm talking, like South Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
That's not even normal to that's not even normal for the Caribbean.
Oh yeah, that's very warm. All right, so we're pulling up the sky vector.
Those down under, by the way, that's about 38 degrees Celsius.
Thank you. Even when I tell the weather, I forget to do that. So this is Sky Vector. This is still open source, and you can go check it out. This shows a lot of the temporary flight restrictions. And, of course, these are the pretty much permanent ones over Washington, D.C. You can zoom in, and that's on pretty much ground zero, coming out of Ronald Reagan, going straight into D.C., and then they expand outward. Was it 50 miles, Ross?
Depends. There's a couple different layers. You mean the
fly zone?
Yeah, I used to remember what it's called, and I can't remember anymore. I guess the counseling's working.
Yeah,
the perimeter around DC.
Yeah, it's several different ones to see here. Like this is a special separate one over on the Maryland side for something different inside of that one. And then you see the one for the Orioles game right up there, butts back right into it. So yeah, it's pretty big.
Essentially, that means that is he going to it? Is that why there's one at the Orioles game?
No, they put him up for every baseball game. After 9/11, they did. Yeah.
Okay. I never knew that.
Well, I don't know if it's every, but it's pretty much every game. I think it's got to do with the number of people. So,
okay.
We'll see. And these blue ones, I was talking to somebody, and these are temporary flight restrictions for drones. So they're separate from the regular ones. Of course, obviously, you can't fly into either. Like a lot of these right now in the Appalachia, no drone areas because they're firefighting operations. So, I mean, that makes common sense. And then you'll see, let's see, like that one's for some security event. Where is that? In Augusta. I wonder what that could be. It's down in Augusta. Well, there's a military base down there. Well, that was one thing they did right after all the drone sightings came out of the Northeast that really perplexed me, is they dotted the entire map with everywhere our energy, power, or water. I said that twice. Power, water, anything where it could be majorly taken out by a drone, they put an instant TFR up over it. Just if you pulled up the map, you could see every one of them. I thought that was kind of stupid, but
well, yeah. whatever came of those drones?
Oh, you didn't hear they were Navy and Secret Service? That's
what I said all along.
Yeah, that was Navy and Secret Service, and it was causing all kinds of chaos. But yeah, it was. But then the story just went away, and so we see down here in Florida the typical. The First Lady must be down there. Man, that's twice as large as normal. The First Lady must be down in Key Largo or Key Largo, whatever, Mar-a-Lago. She must be down.
Yeah. Key Largo's for south.
Yeah. Yeah, it's VIP one, and then they have a drone one in there as well. But it extends almost down to the Keys. I don't know. Maybe she's on the move. I don't know. Air show. We had a weird one pop up the other day. We just kind of go through and look at some of these. We had a weird one pop up. That's the Angels at Cardinals game. That was space operations, like right in the middle of the country. And here's one for a VIP in, where's this? Let's zoom in. Where is this VIP? That's a small one, so you can't be that important. Oh, Dallas. That's probably for Jerry Jones. Now, that's in Dallas. So for a VIP, it's a fairly small one, but they have one up for whoever it is. I don't know the VP. Well, that would probably be too small even for the VP. And you see, if we zoom out, this big blue line, if you want to go back to talking about weather, this is all turbulence, where they've put out a warning that other pilots have reported high turbulence. And it pretty much goes along that front line. If you look at it, if you were to put satellite over this, it would almost overlay perfectly, I'm sure. So space operations. I haven't figured this one out yet. This is out in Salt Lake City. What kind of space operations? Jerry Jones's head couldn't fit in that exactly.
Yeah.
What kind of space operations could go on in Salt Lake City? I mean, I guess they got the flats, but every now and then you see weird stuff pop up. That's why I like looking at this map. That's probably for some type of sporting event. It's pretty large though. Where is that? That's down around Area 51, isn't it? Beale Air Force Base. So yeah.
Yuba City.
Yeah. They got a security zone up there set up for some reason. That one's new. So, oh no, I'm sorry. It's for 214 days. So whatever it is.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's see. Just kind of pop up. Wendell's asking about the weather balloons. I could look and see, but I was kind of rushed today, but I didn't see any. We saw that with space operations. Let's look up in Alaska and see if that space operations went away. We figured out what some of it was off of the coast when they launched all the they launched a satellite rocket, then they launched Fram 2 into the Antarctic Circle orbit. So we figured out what two of them were that I didn't know anything about just by looking at the flight restrictions. Alaska, oh yes, that's right. They were testing ballistics in Alaska. They were testing missiles in Alaska. That's right. I remember because I looked that one up. Let's see.
Queuing up my music.
Game, Royals, Brewers. Yeah, it's good because it's about time. Wendell wants to look real quick at weather balloons. While I'm doing that, you can see this is Bitdefender. This is the cyber threat map, and you can see we're all being attacked. If you look here, red is attack, yellow is infections, white is spam, and boy, looks like Russia, Ukraine, Slovakia is just nailing us at the moment. Wendell wants the weather balloons before we go. What is that called? And this is all public source. You can go, these are weather balloons. They can sometimes be government, they can sometimes be civilian. The only active ones, there's 3 of them.
I'll be right back.
Okay. There's only 3 of them. Wendell being shown. One of them out on the West Coast at Los Angeles. One of them is over Huntsville. So that's got to do with military, I'm sure. And this one up here, Andy's got 2 of them out. So there's 2 of them out in New Hampshire and Maryland. So that is the blue. Some of them are weather, like that's probably a weather balloon down in Columbia. That wouldn't be anything else, would it? So zoom out, and that's pretty much all the balloon. Oh no, let's go. I did not know that. Oh, we can see weather, but we can see balloons down in Australia. So what is this one? There's a balloon. There's 2 balloons off of the Australian coast. And it looks as though they've come from out at sea. Well, hopefully, no, they're going out at sea. All right. Hopefully, I was going to say the Chinese didn't launch. And one from Sydney here. They don't. Balloons. One off of the Sydney coastline and one down further south off of, what would that be? Calabay, I guess. Tamarong? I don't know.
I'm still getting to know the rest of the Australian map.
Oh yeah, it's been fun trying to learn things. But yeah, I didn't know I could pull up the weather balloon. Or well, they're either weather balloons, government balloons. There's some kind of balloons. But like for instance, this one that is headed out to sea is currently at 36,853 feet, and it is traveling at. Oh, good Lord, is it moving that quick? No. Oh, okay, it's traveling pretty slow, so it's just kind of hanging out and floating outward. And if you had a radio, you could tune in to 402.78 and listen to it. The temperature is, well, I saw that. Relative humidity was 10%. Temperature is negative 42. So at 37,000 feet, it's negative 42.5 Celsius. There you go.
But does that radio frequency, does that actually transmit verbiage, or does it just transmit data back to a receiver?
Just data. That's what the frequency is transmitting on. And you'd have to have a decoder to decode whatever the data is. You know, the weather service, at least in the USA, you can download or you can buy, or actually I think you can download online decoders to like get the information. It's obviously just data. You know, it's negative 42.5 feet at 37,000 feet with 10% humidity, and then it gives its latitude and longitude. So it's really, you're not going to get a lot from that. Now, if it's one of our top secret squirrel ones, which there was a top secret squirrel one off the coast of Melbourne for the longest time, hanging around at 80,000 feet, you weren't going to hear anything out of it. It wasn't going to tell you anything as far as just tuning in and listening. But, and even amateur radios will sometimes put them up. So you can get them that way. And we missed, they've had another firefighter fatality, which we'll talk about. And they have had a couple more. This isn't updated yet. A couple more police officers died in the line of duty. And of course, we didn't really get to talk about the suicide stuff as much I wanted to with the military. The veterans, what was it? 17 people die in the military a day from suicide. It's a horrible statistic. It's horrible. And there's a number for firefighters as well that's pretty high, but it's horrible. We can do better as a country. So, but I missed a lot of stories here, Ross. I didn't get to talk about the people vandalizing Tesla that are stupid. So, this was over in Australia. A funeral director is charged with 64 offenses, including fraud, after a probe left families questioning whether they have the correct ashes. That's that always in East Yorkshire. Yeah, looks like an outstanding young fella. This one was a funny story. Firefighters help a paratrooper finish after jumping out of a plane. He landed in a tree, so firefighters had to go get him. You ever jumped out of a plane, Ross?
No, I'd never jumped out of a perfectly good airplane.
I don't see the need to.
Yeah.
This was just a human interest story. Cheeseburgers and chicken failed to entice a dog in Alaska. The reason I liked the story was he was rescued from the wildlife fires in Florida and transported to Alaska, and he slipped out of his collar, and he is now in the woods, and they're trying to get him back. And he's like, I want no part of you people, and it's cold up here. High winds and tornadoes. We talked about that. Who leaves their kid at McDonald's to go to a job interview? Ronald McDonald ain't going to take care of him. And then we didn't talk about this Taylor Swift either. I missed a whole lot of stuff. So, yeah. And no more chains on the sideline of the NFL. We're all digital and AI now. It's crazy. And have you seen the new baseball bats?
Yeah, the pinball thing looking things.
Yeah, they're the torpedoes.
Yeah.
And Ross shares my thoughts on airplanes. It's sound strategy. Yeah, why jump out of the saddle and get perfectly good airplane?
Yeah,
but yeah, in one night the Yankees hit 6 home runs off the new bats, and they're like, we might want to take a look at this. So
yeah,
and then go ahead.
They set some 3-game record.
Yeah, they went on a run. The Yankees did for like 3 nights. Just slamming them out of the park. Can you imagine what it's going to do when they go to Colorado? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. I'm going to get out of here. These are just the highlights I missed. I wanted to talk about Monica Clark.
Much different about the games already. Why are we doing stuff like that just to get more home runs? I think it's
Yeah, they compared it to a bowling pin. So
Yeah.
what? It's called a torpedo bat. Yeah, but the Yankees are getting by with it because it's legal at the time. It's the Yankees. They get by with everything, man. They're like the Dallas Cowboys of baseball. So, so then ESPN Monica's McNutt, that's a strange name, claims Caitlin Clark is popular because she's a white girl from Middle America. I think she's pretty popular because she set all the records and she's an excellent player.
Yeah, but exactly,
who am I? But yeah, that was pretty much it for me.
Or was the white lady that she was talking to agreeing?
We'll have to go back and it looks like she was agreeing with her. She's like, yeah, that's okay. Well, I mean, come on, you're on national news and somebody says that. Are you gonna? I mean, you might push back a little bit.
I would push back and, like, there's one thing about helping out with equality, but I mean, come on, I think she's deserved it, regardless of whatever color her skin is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, heck. Well, I've been a college basketball fan for a while. Candace Parker from Tennessee Lady Vols, she was the first female to dunk, and all I kept saying was that because of her color, it has nothing to do with her color. She's talented. Watch her. She's these people that are this talented are once in a lifetime people,
Right.
So, but I mean, now can you imagine Pete Rose with a torpedo bat? Or Hammer and Hank. And of course, the balls are different there too.
That's the thing, is that now every record that's going to be set is going to have an asterisk.
Got to have an asterisk. Yep, that's the craziest thing. Yeah,
we already have longer seasons. We already have so many different things that are different. Now there's DHs in both leagues.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many things that are different from when baseball was made popular.
Yep.
We've gone from it being popular to it being just a business.
Yes. It's more about the money now. And they want to speed the game up because they don't want to lose people's attention. Which
put in body checking.
Yeah, well, I mean, exactly. You and I remember the old days where you could sit with a pencil and box scores and everything. So
I also remember the old days. You mentioned Pete Rose, when you actually didn't have to slide at any base. It wasn't just home base or home plate. It was any base. There was any sort of obstruction or whatever, you could mow them over.
Yep. Can't do that anymore. Yeah, because Pete Rose, wasn't he the one at first base that just clobbered somebody? Wasn't he the one that had the famous shot where he's coming in and the guy's trying to block? I don't remember who it was now, but yeah, I think it was Pete Rose at first base. But yeah, you're right. All these are going to have asterisks beside them. But, I mean, I guess football is the same because not Jim Plunkett. Who was the kicker for the Raiders that kicked into his 60s? He couldn't do that now.
He was a barefoot kicker. Ray Guy.
Ray Guy. Yes. Yeah. He couldn't do that now. They'd kill you.
Yeah. Is barefoot kicking just dumb, or is it now actually outlawed?
I think it's outlawed.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's outlawed. I have to go back and see, but because I think the last one to do it was the short quarterback that played so long for Buffalo from Florida.
I want to say it was Tony Franklin from the Eagles.
Was it? Okay, I was thinking it was the quarterback.
That's my guess.
Yeah, well, I don't know on that stack, but yeah.
Let me see.
That's right. Yeah, Pete Rose was the one that plotted over the catcher in the All-Star game. It meant nothing exactly. What was it?
Last barefoot kicker in the NFL was Rich Carless.
We were both wrong.
Yeah. Who played for the Denver Broncos, Minnesota Vikings, and Detroit Lions from 1982 to 1990. 9 seasons in the NFL, known for his barefoot kicking style.
Yeah, can't do that now. Can't do that now at all.
Making him the last full-time barefoot kicker in the NFL.
Yeah, there's so many things there's asterisks by, and it's in every sport, but the ones we really follow that matter, the baseball, the football, and we're saying that as Americans, and they're like, what about cricket, soccer, real football? So rugby, Australia, no rules football. I've watched a little of that. That's rough. So
listen to this one a minute. Jeff Wilkins. Yeah, Jeff Wilkins. Is that who you were thinking of?
No, if you say his name, I can see it. He was a quarterback with Buffalo, and he was one of the last quarterbacks when they used to have a rule on fourth down. The quarterback had the option of punting, and nobody ever used it. And he was the last quarterback who punted for an extra point or for 1 point in a game. It was an old rule. He was the last quarterback to do it. But yeah, on fourth down, the quarterback was the only one. He had the option, and if he came out barefoot, and everybody knew he was going to punt.
Yeah, other notable players who kicked barefoot include Tony Franklin and Mike Lansford. While some sources mention Jeff Wilkins as the last barefoot kicker, he actually kicked with one shoe off, not barefoot. Does that mean he had a sock on?
I guess.
What's the difference?
I don't know. It's probably one of those things that you can get by with. Well, he's got a sock on. He's protected. Yeah. I'm going to look that up when we get offline. But yeah, I'll turn your show over to you because I know you got things you wanted to talk about. But
yeah. Well, actually, I'm finally going to do it the right way today.
What are you going to
do? Well, Jurg's Radio News, which is now Mastiff Media Magazine, was a replay of the most recent NPR, Associated Press, Reuters, the different 5 or 10 minute podcast episodes that was news. And we repurposed them into 1 hour show, playing them back to back to back, and then filled it up with Outrage Overload Science Bites by David Beckmeyer and Daily Crypto News by Matt Deemer. So today we're going to do that plus ABC News.
Okay.
And that's not our ABC News. It's their ABC News, meaning those down under in Australia, Australian Broadcasting Company will have their news rounded off today, which will be for the East Coast right about 7:00 a.m. So for those in Canberra, Melbourne, Sydney, that whole area, you'll be wrapping up and starting off the work with actual news that's relevant to you.
Awesome. And this GEMA website shows radar, but it doesn't really do a good job down under. I have not found a good one for radar weather down under yet, but I'm not sure how they're like. If you go back here to the states, this breaks it down by state and county. I'd like to find one that does that something similar, so that I could say, like for instance, that's a severe thunderstorm warning, but I thought there's a tornado warning right there. And where is that tornado warning? That is in, it's Missouri. Yeah, there's 2 tornado warnings in Missouri right now. So yeah, I wish I could find something like this for down there.
Oh, I got a doctor appointment in a half an hour.
All right, well, I'll let you go enjoy your show. Thank you for allowing me to babble.
Gotta do that and then get to a doctor appointment yet.
All right, well, I hope you get that ED taken care of, my friend. So.
Yeah.
All right, Ross, I'm going to sign off from Jurg's and then I'll finish up on my show, wrap it up. But thank you, Ross. I appreciate you, Jurg's, for allowing me on the radio. It was a pleasure.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, brother. Have a good day. We'll see you soon.
All right. See you, everybody.
All right. Bye.
All right. So,
I guess I could have let him finish talking, but yes, thank you, Ross. We always love it when Ross comes over. Even if I heckle him, I love it when Ross comes over. All right, well, we're going to get out of here today. We've babbled on a few extra minutes, but we had a little fun. Tonight, remember, we have the Our Normal Guys show. If you are a Bigfoot fan, or if you just want to learn about Bigfoot, I wish I got this on Radio X. You want to watch tonight because we have 2, Robin Haynes and Greg Ogles. We have 2 experts on the field. You need to come check them out. It's going to be a great show starting 9 o'clock Eastern time on the Pair Our Normal Guys, which you're probably already here because it's the only place I think I'm still broadcasting to. But come check it out. You will love it. Everybody else, unless we got any questions on anything, be weather aware. Please keep your weather radio as the night goes on, or day goes on into night. Have a flashlight with you. If you can, get one of those little battery powered weather radios so that you can keep up with what's going on in the weather world. Yes, it's going to be a great show tonight, Wendell. I hope you can join in the chat. I think you will have a good time. Brenda, I hope you will as too. Everybody have a great day, and thank you for allowing me to come into your ears and for you to put up with my ugly face for 2 hours and 8 minutes. Hope you have a great day. I will see you guys and gals very soon. Until then, Sportcat is out. Gotta push.